Hello everyone, Dean Kelley again with the Georgia Transparency Coalition, and we're here in Dalton, Georgia, at the GOP headquarters, where we're talking to some of the candidates down here in Dalton for the upcoming election. With us today is Lynn Laughter. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
During the pandemic, it's kind of hard to get
hard.
out and campaign, so I welcome the opportunity.
Yeah,
Thank you.
door knocking is not on the menu right now, is it?
Well, I never had to do much of that anyway, but if you're afraid now to knock on somebody's door and get somebody that's at risk, and yeah.
Yeah, I understand. But for those that don't know you, she's running for re-election of the chairman of the Board of Commissioners. That don't know you, just kind of give a background, tell us who Lynn Laughter is.
All right. Shall I look at you or the camera?
Look at the camera.
Gosh, when I start talking about myself, my mind goes in all different directions, but I'm a native of North Carolina, so yes, I'm a hillbilly. Grew up in the mountains of North Carolina. Started working at a very young age. I was 15. When I was 16 and in high school, I actually drove a school bus then.
Oh, wow.
They wouldn't let somebody 16 do that now, that's for sure. But it was a great part-time job because you could pick up the kids and go to school and then go to school all day and then bring them home. So it was great. We moved to Georgia in 1986. My husband, well, let me go back. Ben and I got married when we were 21. We were between our junior and senior years in college. And in Western North Carolina, 21 was kind of old to be getting married. My mom was worried I was going to be an old lady. Now 21 sounds really young.
Now there's 31.
I know. So we got married between our junior and senior years. Neither of our families really had money to help us go to college. So I did work study. I think Ben had a scholarship and we borrowed some money. So after we graduated, we moved to Washington, D.C. And he went to Georgetown Law School. And I worked and supported us, not very well, but I supported us during those years. We went to D.C. without even a car.
Wow.
We had my little motorcycle, and that's what we got around on in D.C. So Ben went to Georgetown Law School, and we borrowed the money for his tuition, and then I supported us. And then we moved to Chicago for his job, and he worked and supported us while I went to Northwestern Kellogg Graduate School of Management. So when I started school there, I planned to do the MBA program in 2 years. But it ended up, I had a 1-year-old and I was pregnant before I ever stepped foot on the campus. And so it took me 4 years to get that degree, but I had 2 more kids along the way, so that was good. We moved to Georgia and our kids were 4, 6, and 8. So I stayed home for a few years with them, and I wouldn't take those years back for anything. So ladies out there, I can tell you, I've worked part-time with kids, I've worked full-time with kids, and I've stayed home full-time with kids, and none of it is easy. But I need to be challenged. I get bored fairly easily. So we joined First Baptist Church, and I'm very active in my church. When we were growing up, my mama did not let us miss church. We went Sunday night, Wednesday night, and Sunday morning, and so that's what we did with our children. And so I really credit God and our church more with the good way they've turned out than our parenting. But we were always in church. We taught our kids, for every dime you get, you tithe a penny, you save a penny, and then you can spend what's left. So I've been on the staff committee at church, on the finance committee at church. I've chaired the budget committee. We used to, when the kids were growing up and we went on vacation, we would try to go to church wherever we were on vacation. And I'll never forget one time we were in Daytona Beach, and they had a drive-in theater that was a church. So we took our Suburban, and our mom was with us, and my mom, and the kids loved it because you sat in your vehicle and had the speaker over the door and went to church. They like to do that, every Sunday.
Sounds like that might be making a comeback.
I think it might be. I think it's a good idea, actually. Charlie Bowen, he, of course, has passed away now, but he was a mentor to me, and I just think the world of him. Most of you know that he was the school superintendent at one time in the city of Dalton, but he recruited me to be the treasurer of Habitat for Humanity back in 1987, and I ended up being on that board for 21 years.
Wow.
And I loved the Habitat Board, and I would get out there and get up on the roof and hammer nails and stuff, but mostly I was treasurer and had to pay all the mortgages for everybody and the bills and everything. But I also, during that 21 years, was the vice president and the president at different times. I was the chairman of the Archway Partnership we had here, and I was also chairman of the chamber. The chamber recruited me because they wanted more women, more small business owners, women on their boards. So I'm a big believer in diversity on boards, and I tried as the chamber. I didn't plan to ever be the chairman, but I was the chairman of the chamber, and we tried really hard to recruit, diversity on the board, and it's harder to do than you would think. But so I'm the only female currently on the Whitfield County Board of Commissioners. I got 4 white guys, and so when I ran and became district commissioner of District 4, and I ran in 12 and took that job in 13. So I was the only second female ever to serve on the Whitfield County Board of Commissioners. Debbie Peppers, a lot of you will remember, was the first. And then when I ran for chairman and won it, I'm the first female chair in Whitfield County history, and I'm talking about 150 years.
Wow.
So I think we need more diversity on our boards. I think different groups deserve to have a say.
Yeah.
And so I'm really big on that. I'm also on the Dalton State College Investment Committee that oversees their foundation's, investments. Like I said earlier, well, I don't think I said, but Ben and I went to the University of North Carolina. It's the only place I could afford to go. It was a public school in North Carolina, so that's where we met. Our 3 children, like I said, I have to give God credit for how they turned out. So our oldest son went to Vanderbilt and got his PhD in education, and so he's a teacher at UT, professor at UT. Don't hold, you Georgia fans, don't hold that against me, but his wife's a teacher, and they live in Knoxville, so they're doing fine. Our youngest one is a daughter, and she lives here in Whitfield County, and she teaches at Dalton Middle School. So out of the 3 kids and their spouses, we've got 3 that are teachers.
Wow.
And she teaches at the middle school. Of course, she's teaching at home.
Yeah, right now.
And they've got daughters, Kate and Lulu, who are 12. And my granddaughter, Lulu, turned 8 yesterday. And she said, Nan, you're the chairman of the county. Can you please open it back up so I can have a real birthday party? So I said, I wish I could do that for you, Lulu, but I can't. My daughter's husband, Miller Jones, is in business with me. And so they're here in Dalton, and I really treasure that. Our middle son, Mark, went to MIT, and he is a nuclear inspector. So he and his wife and their 2 kids, Lydia and Isaac, who are 8 and 6, live in Vienna, Austria. Both the kids were born there.
Oh, my goodness.
And they've lived there 10 years, and they love it. They won't ever be coming home. But so what he does, and I don't think I mentioned my oldest son and his wife have 2 children, Joseph 10 and Benjamin 7. And I love that we have a lot of biblical names in our family. We gave each of our kids a family name and a biblical name, and I just love that. So going back to Mark, he inspects nuclear facilities, and he's actually in France this week. Not too crazy about that. He's been working at home, for 6-8 weeks now, but they needed an inspection in France, so he's there this week.
Oh, wow.
He'll have to quarantine when he gets back. France has had a big problem. So I know that's probably more than you meant for me to
that's
talk
fine.
about for me. But
Helps everybody get to know you better.
you might, I'm just a hillbilly. So I think that there are 3 main qualifications that I have to be chairman of the Whitfield County Board of Commissioners.
Okay.
And one is my education. I told you I got an MBA with concentrations in finance and accounting from Kelley Graduate School of Business. It's one of the top business schools in the country. And I started to go there a while ago, and I forgot to say, so we borrowed money for Ben to go to Georgetown Law School, and then we borrowed money for me to go to Northwestern to get my MBA. We did not pay off our school loans until my oldest was in high school.
Wow.
So I'm one of those people that truly believes if you sign your name on the dotted line, you need to repay that money. Mm-hmm. And so for Ben and I, it was hard, but we repaid all that money. And it was the best decisions we made going to the schools that we went
Absolutely.
to. It's made a huge difference in our lives. So, and not that I don't think I think experience is very important. And honestly, when I think about this, every job I've had, I think my degree has got me in the door, but you learn it on the job.
Absolutely.
You learn what you're doing on the job.
Mm-hmm.
So my education has helped, obviously, and then I'm a successful small business owner. So Miller, my son-in-law, and I jointly own Lauder and Jones Financial Management. I'm a certified financial planner, so I've got my CFP certification. And we manage money for quite a few people. You know, we manage their retirement, saving for college. We do full financial services to our clients. I've actually got clients in 19 or 20 states.
Well, I'm sure that's a skill and knowledge that comes in handy with county government.
It does. Yeah, I have a lot of budgeting issues with my clients that we have to talk about. So, now, tell me again how it is you're spending $6,000 a month when you don't have any debt, that kind of thing. So, so that experience, I actually started at Wachovia back then. It's Wells Fargo now, in 1989. And I became a branch manager there, and I just loved that job. But they pestered me to become their first financial advisor here in this area. So I did that, and I went to all 6 branches, Calhoun and Tunnel Hill, and all 6 branches, and met with people that wanted to talk about investments. So in 1998, I left Wachovia then and started my own business. And then Miller joined me in 2007. It's hard for me to believe he's been with me now for 13 years almost. But anyway, that finance training and that what I do on the job day in and day out and what I've done for 25 years now, I think it's important.
Yeah,
It's important.
absolutely.
And then the third thing, so education, small business owner, is my experience. And you know, when I became a commissioner, you have to go to Athens for some required training. And you know how I've been saying, I've said the word unprecedented more than the last 6 weeks than I've said in my whole life, because we're, of course, in unprecedented times. But that week of training, you don't really know what all is involved in becoming a commissioner. And we were just in classes all day for those 4 days. And I heard so many times that week, just like I've heard unprecedented, oh my gosh, what have I gotten myself into? Everybody was walking around saying, oh my gosh, what have I done? So I worked real hard the first year I was in office, and I think I finished in January, February of the second year. I traveled around the state and I took classes and I became a certified county commissioner. So I think that helped me a lot. You have all kinds of different classes, finance, economic development, fire things. It hits every aspect of your job. And so I am working now on my specialties, and so it's a level above the basic. So I've almost finished my finance specialty, and I'm working on economic development too. So I'd like the opportunity to get to finish those, but it won't be this year. We got too much going on. And then I ran for chairman, so this is my 4th year as being chairman of Whitfield County. And like I've already mentioned, I'm a champion for diversity. I really am. And I love being the first female chair of Whitfield.
I bet you do.
I just love that.
Something to be proud of.
Yeah.
Well, so you've served on the committee, and then this is your first term as chairman that you just finished.
4 years as a district commissioner,
Yeah.
and then now I'm in my 4th year as chairman.
When you became chairman, what was the biggest challenges you think that you had these past 4 years?
Oh, that was at the beginning of 13.
Mhm.
So we were still coming out of the recession. We had come out somewhat, but we were still, coming out of that. So that was a challenge. We had a deficit that first year. And so the budget was a big challenge. And, I have to say working with 4 men was a challenge. It's different, and we are getting along great now. I think the commissioners are all working well together to figure out how we're going to respond to this pandemic that we're in. So the revenue and our budget was the biggest challenge for that year.
How has the coronavirus affected revenues here in Whitfield County?
Well, we had our meeting last night, and we had the March sales tax numbers, but we don't have the April yet. So we'll have to, we know it's going to be impacted. I mean, I think state and local governments all across the state, our state and the country, obviously people are not spending what they were. They're not going anywhere,
right.
For the most part. So we know we're going to have a reduction in the sales tax is a big part of our revenue. So we're going to have to deal with that. We've already put off some purchases, put off some vehicle purchases, and we wanted to redo the tennis courts at Edwards Park. Obviously, that's not a necessity, so we're not going to do that. We did have to, we voted last night to put lights out there because we're having people fall, and that's a safety issue. So people go out there to walk around the track and all that, and we've had some situations that we've just got to get lights out there. So, and actually it helps a little bit with the utilities, I think, because we won't have to use the football lights, and they're big lights and expensive. So we had, fortunately, for the last several years, the county has been working on building up a fund balance. We didn't have much of those emergency fund, yeah. And you like that to be at least 3 months of your budget. And so we've been building that up. So we do have some money in our fund balance that we can use. We also had a surplus last year.
That's always nice.
It was nice. It's been real nice the last couple of years to be able to have surplus. And so I think we're just going to have to look very hard at what we're spending, which is what we're doing. I will tell you, Dean, and our citizens that our department heads, public works, public safety, I shouldn't have brought that up because I know I'll leave one out, but engineering, that we've got human resources, finance, recreation, and IT. Like we just voted to put in some safety, a new software for our IT department because we were getting a lot of emails that were threatening, that we're going to hold you hostage and that kind of thing. So we're trying to prevent that. You have to spend that kind of money because you need to be able to have safe emails. And so I don't know how many we had that were actually threatening hostage, but we were getting a lot of emails that we didn't need to be getting, so we had to do that. So we also got some money from the Solid Waste Authority. They had a surplus, so they transferred money to the city and the county, so we have that we can work with. So I think we're going to be okay. I think we're going to have a balanced budget this year, but I think we're going to have to be austere in what we spend.
Now, moving forward, assuming you're going to be reelected, what do you think are going to be in addition to what you've already told me, what do you think are going to be some of the pressing issues in the future?
Well, as you know, none of us know when the pandemic is going to be over. I'm having to tell that to my clients. I can't tell you when we're going to come out of this recession. I can't, because nobody knows how long the pandemic's going to last. Now, things are looking better, and honestly, Whitfield County has been fairly blessed. I mean, we've had 6 deaths, and that's 6 too many. But
could have been a lot worse.
It could have been a lot worse. And so we're doing pretty well trying to contain that. But what if in the fall we have a second wave? And I'm actually very worried about our businesses because it was really hard on our businesses when we had to shut down.
Yeah, especially small businesses.
Yeah, especially small businesses. So I'm concerned about them. I'm a little bit worried that we opened up a little bit early, and if we have a second wave and had to shut down, I think that will be devastating for our businesses. So I'm very concerned about them. We've got high unemployment now, which was really low before this started. No one in living memory has seen issues like this.
Oh, that's right.
And so we're trying to handle the situation, as we go. So
it's uncharted territory.
It certainly is. It certainly is. And that's one of my campaign points: is that do you really want to change leadership to someone who's never been a commissioner before in times like these. I mean, so one of the things, I declared a state of emergency for the county on March 16th. And then the commissioners passed two, and we were able to get joint resolutions with the city of Dalton and the other three cities in our county. And so we set out what our rules were, and then both times the governor came out with his own executive orders and made our resolutions null and void. So does that mean I've only got 5 more minutes?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I've got a lot more to talk about.
Well, you can take extra time. We're not going to cut you off.
So one of the things I've done is I've had twice weekly phone calls that are live streamed from the website, and we've had some really interesting speakers, like the commissioner for the whole state of Georgia Department of Labor. And any of you that are dealing with unemployment, go back and watch his. It's still on our website because he gives out a lot of good information. We've had the school superintendents, we've had the fire chief and the emergency management person. Last week I had 3 people that actually have small businesses. This Thursday at 5, it's going to be Chief Judge William Boyette to talk about what the Supreme Court did in Georgia, which was called for a judicial state of emergency. So he's going to explain what that means. And we're also going to have our probate judge, Sherry Blevins, on, so she can tell people about gun licenses and marriage licenses and things like that. So there haven't been a whole lot of people viewing those during the call, but they can call in questions and chat in questions. But what we're finding is that people will go back and look at them later. 5 o'clock may not have been, the best time. But the paper, our local paper's done a great job of getting that information out to people. So we've tried to keep people calm. We end those calls, and Claude Craig, the emergency management director, is on the calls with me. So I update a little bit about the county, he updates the statistics, and then we have our speakers. So that's one thing we've done. I want to talk a little bit about the accomplishments in the last 4 years, because we've really made a lot of progress before the pandemic started. And we've had trying to diversify our energy. We had Q-Cells, a solar panel company from South Korea, located in our business park, which brought 700 jobs, higher paying jobs, to Whitfield County. Our fire department, which I'm really proud of, has gone from an ISO rating of 5 to 3. So we were able, with the last SPLOST, to build 1 fire station and buy 2 ladder trucks, 6 engines, new equipment for our guys, and now we have, and gals, we have 2 firefighters at each station 24/7, which was one of our goals. We, of course, built Edwards Park with the last SPLOST, and that's a beautiful facility, so we're trying to improve our recreational facilities. We bought the land on the south side, because I think the south side kind of gets the poor end of the stick sometimes. I think you mentioned that in one of your calls about parts of Walker County. And we have world-winning soccer champion teams in this county. I mean, literally, our high schools have won state championships 4 or 5 times.
Wow.
And we don't have one regulation-sized soccer field in our whole county. So what's happening is Chattanooga's still our great players. So we want to build some soccer fields on the south end of the county, and we'd like to build one up at Edwards Park. So we've got that going. One thing I'm really proud of is when I took office, our animal shelter was euthanizing 80 to 90% of our animals. And you mentioned that in one of your calls. And it was 80 to 90% is awful, but we were getting 2,500 animals a year, and we're only licensed for 40. So we made some changes, and in March, our euthanasia rate was 7%. So we've gone from 80 to 90 in my tenure of down to 7%, and I'm really proud of that, because I do love animals, and we're adopting animals out now. We didn't do that before. We're taking in cats. We didn't do that before. We're working better with rescues, so I'm really proud of that. And also, I've worked hard to get the library the funding that they need. We have a library that, if you compare us to the rest of the state, what the local governments do for our library is pitiful. So we fully funded their budget for this year, and I'm proud of that. I think one of the biggest issues, and I guess I'm kind of sad that I waited till this point in our conversation. We may have already lost half the people that are watching. But one of the big things I'm concerned about is the sales tax negotiation that was done in 2012 is up. It has to be redone every 10 years, and so that's a big deal. And I'm a city resident, and of course we're all county residents. But I really want there to be a fair division of the taxes. And that 2012 negotiation, the county went from getting 83% of the sales taxes. We're now getting 61.556. That has cost our county millions and millions of dollars. And one of the reasons that we had to raise taxes because we lost that revenue. So that negotiation comes up again in 2022. And I will tell you that our current mayor, David Pennington, was there negotiating the loss, and he did a great job for the city, but it's hurt the county for years. But I never have quite understood why he's been so unhappy with that negotiation when the city got so much more of the lost dollars, the sales tax dollars. So he actually went to the city council before he ran for mayor again and told them they should sue the county because they didn't think they were getting a fair share of the taxes. And so Mayor Mock at that time put together a committee, and I remembered this wrong on my TV interview. I said my opponent made the presentation, and I remembered in the middle of the night, he said he didn't. He was out of town. He was right. He was out of town that night. So it was Kathy Holmes that made the presentation. But he and Tato Glenn and Kathy put together the presentation. So they made a presentation in 18 to the city that they thought the city was paying too much in county taxes, and that's what led to the city of Dalton forcing the county to go to a court-ordered mediation, and which nothing was resolved that day, and the next step would have been to be in court.
Yeah.
And I think the city hired an outside attorney. It cost me too, our city residents, a lot of money for that. And I just think that's unnecessary. I think groups ought to be able to work together. But like I said, I never understood why he was upset. But there was a couple of things that he just was really upset about. So the city hired this outside attorney and did that. So I think in 2022 it's important to remember that a committee took to the city of Dalton that they were paying too much in county taxes, which led to us being in court. And do you really want someone that did that to be involved in the loss negotiations in 2022? Is he going to be on the city side or the county side? So, I think that's a very important point to make.
Absolutely.
And that's pretty much all the points I wanted to make. I try to run a clean campaign and not say negative things. But I did think our citizens need to know that one point.
Well, you put out a lot of information in this interview.
Too much, and I talk too fast.
No, that's fine. You put out a lot of information. I'm sure it's going to come in very handy.
Well, I'm a Southerner and I talk fast, so it's not a good combination.
Well, everybody's been talking fast today. So.
Oh, they have. Thank you to Diane Putnam and the Republican Party, because it is hard to campaign when we're all sheltered in place. I appreciate very much this opportunity, and I appreciate the voters in Whitfield County to re-elect the experienced chairman. Thank you.
And we've been with Lynn Laughter, and she's running for re-election of the chairman of the commission here in Whitfield County. Be sure and vote on April 9th.
June 9th.
June 9th. It's April 9th. June 9th. Early voting starts May 18th. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.